So, hello everyone, nice to be here. What did you say? You called me the human CFO. Okay, that was a nice introduction. As everything else connected to IT systems nowadays, it is closely connected also to processes and to behaviors. And above all, to people. To change an ERP system is not a finance project or an IT project. It's actually more like a heart transplant that you do to your organization while it's up there and running its race. And I will come back to why. My name is Liselotte Haglind. I have like 20 years of experience into the consultancy industry and a long history with Sweco, and since 6 years ago I'm the CFO for Sweco in Sweden. Sweco is Europe's largest consultancy firm within engineering, architecture and environment. And what we do is that we plan and create the future sustainable cities and societies. And the result is sustainable buildings. It can be efficient infrastructure, or it can be smart cities and clean water. We are 15,000 employees, and 6,000 of them you will find in Sweden. You actually find 2,000 also in Helsinki. And we carry out like 90,000 projects every year to our customers. We do project export in 70 different countries throughout the world. The people and the projects is the core in our business. Actually, it's almost everything that we have on our balance sheet. The business model is really, really flat. We have like 600 managers in Sweden that are totally responsible for their own P&L, down to EBITDA level. And we also have 5,000 project managers that is responsible not only for the technical part, but also for everything around the projects, like contract management, risks, resources, administration, their project margin, and also the invoicing in the projects. So everything else than projects and customers that we spend our time on is an income loss. Or more exactly, if we focus too much on internal projects, it will ruin our billing ratio, which is the main KPI in our business as we sell time. This was the really short story about Sweco, but some important facts to follow me in my story. And I hope I will give you some insights, not too much on hard IT core things, but more about the people-oriented side that I have learned when I did this sort of hard change of our organization. 4 years ago, we decided that we needed to change our ERP at Sweco. We came from like 30 different systems and we wanted to have one common global ERP system. And this is not a back office tool. This is the tool that everyone uses every day in the daily work, the managers, the project managers, all the business support functions, and also finance. So it's not an overnight process, it takes a lot of time. We also had a lot of different starting points when we started. Finland came from like 15 different systems because of a lot of acquisitions that we have made. And in Sweden we had a common ERP system, but it was growing old and was going to disappear from the market. We also had a lot of legal requirements to take care of. Of course, there were a lot of common wise. It's easier to work together in a group with a common ERP. And it's also more cost efficient, of course. For me, the ERP system is the backbone of how you want to steer a company. It should be the framework of how you want people to behave and how you want to do business. The system should reflect upon this. And it's not really easy to change people's behaviors and invisible behaviors and processes. But it's also really easy to underestimate what's going to happen in your organization when you start to turn different small parts and processes into your organization. It's really the devil's in the details here. For Sweden, this why was really simple, because our system was going to die, so we had to do this. But we couldn't really imagine what kind of change journey we started when we did this. And we couldn't really imagine even how important it was to communicate the why all the time throughout the project, because even I doubted sometimes why we did it, actually. So I was overall responsible for the finance processes, the business processes, migration, validation, tests, everything like that, education, and last but not least, the change management. And it is a lot of detailed questions and a lot of strategic questions at the same time, thousands of questions all the time. So you need to really prioritize your time. It can be questions like, when is the best time to go live into the system? I supposed it was 1 quarter, but which quarter is the best one to not ruin your result? How do you set up a support organization to all these people? And how do you educate 6,000 people when they are going to invoice the next day? And also, how do you educate the finance people? Because they are going to support the ones that are going to invoice. And maybe the hardest part was about going from a Swedish system, a local Swedish system, into a global system in English. I never thought the language would be such a problem, actually. To set goals in these kind of projects is, in theory, correct, and you should do it. But as you go along into the project, you will realize that you will revalue your goals, and you will see new risks coming in, and you will also take higher risks. And I agreed with my project team that we should have 3 sort of ground rules that we should stick to, even if the wind was really, really hard. So, and that was that we should be able to close the books in a quarter with quality in our figures. We should be able to pay salaries to everyone, and we should be able to invoice the first day. And this sounds really, really simple and sort of core, but I can tell you there were times when we risked these goals. So have some goals and stick to them. This is also really close connected to that you need to choose between what comes first of quality, time, or costs. Because when you re-evaluate and you see new risks that you didn't even dream of, or you need to choose about one risk and another, you need to know what comes first. And we had quality first for a very long time. But lessons learned for me is that time is more important than you think. And not only because time often comes with costs, but more because that the people involved in this can't cope too long with this project. You need to have some sort of pace in these kind of projects to be able to have high quality. We had the ambition to implement a standard system with not too many Sweco-specific solutions. We did some twisters here and there that we needed Sweco-specific things, and some things here and there suddenly were a small development project. And we did exactly the things that you shouldn't do. We implemented and developed at the same time. And with this comes costs and more resources, and you need to rethink some solutions and so on. Of course, the gain is better adaptation to business, but we would have earned to think more about this from the beginning. And it's also very important to think about the journey you have ahead after the go live, because you need to live with all the special solutions that you choose afterwards also. With 90,000 projects, you need to have quality in the figures. We did tests and validations, and we chose the integrations very, very clever, and we had like 300 integrations that we needed to test. And to be sure about everything, we did 11 fully migrations and validation of our whole system. This took 1.5 years. It was a really tough period also, because we also needed to go back to our own system and clean up the data. But also because of taking so long time. And I asked and sort of forced my top management finance people to be part of this work, this validation, and the sort of dirty work to check accounts, check data, check the balance sheet, check the projects, so and tick off and approve that it was correct. And we really argue about this at this point of time in the project, but afterwards we agreed upon that this was the best solution, because it was the best education that I could have had into the system. And when we went live, they were my messengers out in the business, because they could stand there and say that the system actually works really fine, the data is correct, I can ensure. So this was really good. We were not able to split into separate go live, so we needed to jump into the new system with 6,000 employees. And that's because we work too much together in all our projects. And I think that's a common problem that you have in large international organizations. But we could split up with the mother company. So we went live with the mother company 1 year before the other ones. Not too many people in it, but it was some projects there. And that really saved us, because we found things that we didn't thought we should find. So if you have the chance to go in with a gradual launch, that is really also to recommend. If the ERP system is the backbone of how your company is steered, and if it is the framework how you would like your people and organization to act and behave and do business, then it's important that they understand that before they understand the system. That should really mirror your business principles. With that thinking, we had workshops with all our management teams and really discussed our business principles. How do we want to work? What is important in our organization? How do we work cross divisions, cross countries? What is the responsibility of a manager, and what's the responsibility for the finance department? How do we meet? So then when we went live, no one actually discussed the system. Everyone was talking about the business and the business principle and how to improve how we worked. And this was really a success factor for us, because it's easy to get too much internal focused when you go into these kind of projects. And we really stayed customer focused when we did it. In my own finance organization, we had talked a lot about global changes for a long time, robots and nearshoring and so on. And now we went from 11 ways of working to one global way of working. And we went through all the processes, changed our work, and documented the processes. And it was my plan to do this first, then go live, and then continue with all the efficiency tools that you have, robotics and so on. But in fact, these things came with each other, because where we didn't get enough time, or we didn't get enough quality, or we didn't have the resources, we used these tools to be able to go live with a new ERP. We started 3 robot processes in just a very short time. In 3-4 weeks, we had set up a new offshoring department with our colleagues in Sweco, Lithuania. We actually sort of skipped the queue with other countries and let them in before, just to be able to help us out. And with that, I was in the middle of a large change within my own organization, not because of the system, but because of everything else that happened around us. And we needed to take care of that at the same time. And that's because everything about people. These kind of projects is half about doing the right thing and half about communicating to your people what you are doing, where you are going, and so on, to make them follow you into this change and to make them feel secure about what's going on. Another success factor is that you need to have a management team that is really engaged and committed to what you are going to do. And we talked to our management team and said, this is one thing we need to do together. We also pushed on our decentralized business model and said, hey, you are responsible for your own P&L. We also said, we need to do this. The system is going to die. And with these simple three things, everyone raised their hands and said, yes, we are ready to lead into this change. So it's easy, it's very important to remember that when it comes, but what it all comes back to is this is all about people. And you really need to communicate. That's the key to make everyone follow you. Of course, you need to have a really good project team around you when you do this. And you need to have people that is 100% focused on this issue. They can't do anything else when they do this. And you also need to pick the best people you have, not the second best people. You need to replace them with interim solutions. And this was really hard, but an important success factor. Another one is that they need to, of course, understand the hard part of this kind of project, but the important thing is that they understand your business and why you work as you work. So pick the best people from your own organization. So, to summarize, when you stand there after 3-4 years and you have to jump into a new system, then was the time when I realized that we were only halfway there. This is really the sort of crossroad when you go into the next phase. Now is the time where the game really begins. Because you can't be 100% ready when you do this. You will find things, you will find things that you didn't dream of, and you need to take care of that. So you have to have energy and you have to be sufficiently rested to be able to continue and step forward. So save some energy for the phases after the go live. If you have the pleasure to be responsible for an ERP implementation, a complex project like this, take the chance to change things that you haven't been able to change before. But be aware of what happens in your organization when you start to turn things. Involve people and make sure that management lead into the change. Don't believe in that there are standard systems, they aren't. And have control over your data and make sure that your finance people do the dirty work. As everything else in our time right now, changes within IT is really close connected to processes and to behaviors and above all to people. And to do this kind of ERP change is really a heart replacement. You can also describe it as an airplane flying on 10,000 meters height and you need to change the engine without crashing. But more important, you need to change the engine without changing the destination of your airplane. So you need to do this without your organization to crash or your organization to change its goals. We survived this, and we also survived to succeed with our 3 goals I told you about. And actually, my finance organization is stronger than ever. We are now into more robots. And the important thing to remember, and the key takeaway here, is that these kind of complex projects is a huge change management project. And it needs to be handled by a lot of strategic thinking and a lot of leadership. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
How long has it been up and running right now?
It's been running since November 18.
November 18. So
Yeah.
what are we talking about? 6 months?
No, a bit more. Yeah, about 6 months, yes.
All good?
No.
Stock price not crashing?
No, not all good, but we are doing good.
Great to hear.
Yeah.
All right, looking forward to hearing that maybe next year of how it proceeded. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Liselotte, Haglind.
Thank you.